Welcome to Go Right with Peter Boykin. This is a constitutional republic where liberty is not permission and government answers to the people.
Hey girl, what you doing? Oh, I'm not that busy. I'm helping Joe Biden hide all his documents. I ain't got nothing else to do, and I'm about waiting on Peter Boykin's Go Right News to come on. But I can talk.
Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
They call it common sense. They say it's clean and clear. But power loves a shortcut when no one's looking here. 2 boxes on a form, so authority feels strong. But convenience turns to policy when limits start going wrong. This isn't left or right, it's restraint versus control. It's who defines the citizen and who draws the roll. Is North Carolina protecting common sense or expanding government power through identity law? That's the question they don't want slowed down. That's the line they don't want crossed at all. To Go Right with Peter Boykin. Let's talk about power before it decides who we are.
Welcome back to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. I am Peter Boykin, your host of this show, hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. This is a commentary based on the article on GoRightNews.com and GoRightNC.com. And today we ask, if government can define identity for convenience, liberty becomes conditional. A free society does not require the state to approve of every individual choice. It requires the state to restrain itself from deciding which individuals deserve recognition in the first place. Once government claims the authority to define identity categories by statute, it crosses a quiet but dangerous threshold. The issue is not who wins this argument today, the issue is who controls the definitions tomorrow. Limited government does not mean the state picks fewer winners. It means the state claims less authority over personal life altogether. If Republicans truly believe that government power is dangerous when concentrated, they cannot celebrate its expansion simply because the target feels foreign or irritating. Power does not check party registration before it spreads. Precedent does not retire after one election cycle. There is a disciplined conservative argument available here, and it is not flashy. It does not trend well on social media, and it does not satisfy the urge to dunk on the other side. And that argument is this: let individuals live their lives. Let private decisions remain private, and let the state stay out of identity. Let taxpayers debate spending, and let government prove its authority before asserting it. A constitutional republic erodes not when liberty is attacked openly, but when restraint is abandoned selectively. One side cheers because it feels like order, and the other side panics because it feels like erasure. Meanwhile, the state quietly grows more confident in its right to define the citizen. And that is not conservatism. That is convenience masquerading as principle. Because if liberty only applies to people who make us comfortable, it is not liberty at all. It is permission. And permission can always be revoked. Folks, thanks for tuning in to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Please share this to all your social medias and follow us on Rumble and Kick and YouTube and everywhere else. that you can find great independent constitutional news from. God bless everybody.
They call it common sense. They say it's clean and clear. But power loves a shortcut. When no one's looking here, 2 boxes on a form. So authority feels strong, but convenience turns to policy when limits start going wrong! Left or right, it's restraint versus control. It's who defines the citizen and who draws the roll. Is North Carolina protecting common sense or expanding government power through identity law? That's the question. With Peter Boykin. Let's talk about power before it decides who we are.
Is North Carolina protecting common sense or expanding government power through identity law? There is a familiar rhythm to how these debates unfold. A new rule is announced, applause erupts from one side, alarm bells ring from the other, and social media turns into a loyalty test. And almost nobody pauses to ask the only question that actually matters in a constitutional republic. What authority does the state have, and where does individual liberty begin? That question now sits at the center of the new rule in North Carolina, where the state has officially defined sex as male and female for legal recognition and prohibited the use of state funds for gender transition surgeries or medication. Supporters have declared it a victory for common sense and conservatism, but critics have called it ignorant of science and dismissive of real people who exist outside clean categories. Both reactions are emotionally understandable, but neither fully address the constitutional tension hiding underneath. Now, what the state is claiming the power to do. The first part of the rule does something conservatives should instinctively distrust. It asserts that the state has the authority to define identity categories by law. That's not a neutral act. It is not a passive recognition of reality. It is an active exercise of government power over how citizens are classified, recognized, and navigated through the legal system. Conservatism, at least as it is traditionally sold, is skeptical of this kind of authority. Limited government is supposed to mean fewer definitions imposed from above, not more. And when the state begins legislating identity instead of simply administrating law, it is expanding its role, not shrinking it. And this is where the contradictions begin. Because biology is not a cultural war talking point. The existence of intersex people is not a political slogan. It is not a progressive theory. It is a medically documented biological reality involving chromosomes, hormones, or anatomy that do not conform neatly to binary classification. A law does not make these people disappear. It simply makes them harder to legally process. When legislation is built on simplified assumptions that ignore known biological variation, the result is not clarity. It is confusion layered with litigation. And conservatives often argue that government should be grounded in reality rather than ideology. That standard does not disappear when the facts are inconvenient. And that's when we lead to public funding as a separate constitutional question. The second part of the rule deserves different treatment. Refusing to use state funds for specific medical procedures is not the same thing as banning those procedures outright. Taxpayer money is not unlimited, and citizens have every right to debate how public funds are allocated. From a constitutional perspective, this is where the state has firmer ground. Declining to subsidize something is a restraint on government spending, not a criminalization of private behavior. And limited government arguments actually apply here. But conservatives weaken that argument when they blur the line between, quote, the state will not pay, and, quote, the state gets to decide who you are. Those are not the same principles. They are opposites wearing the same label. Which leads us to audits, NGOs, and selective enforcement. Audits and calls to audit the NGOs and social service departments should stand on neutral principles of transparency and accountability. And when audits are framed as ideological punishment rather than physical oversight, they stop being conservative and start being reactionary. A conservative republic does not survive on selective scrutiny. It survives on equal standards applied consistency, even when that target is unpopular. Folks, you can read more about this on the GoRightNews.com and GoRightNC.com website. Thank you for tuning in. Please share.
They say it's common sense. They say it's clean and clear. 2 boxes on a form so power feels secure. But when the state decides who fits and who does not, convenience turns to law and liberty gets caught. It starts with tidy language and ends with quiet chains. You don't lose freedom screaming, you lose it through the claims. If government defines me for its own ease of use, then freedom isn't freedom, it's permission they can choose. You don't need to like my life to let my rights remain. When liberty's conditional, the Constitution's just a name. They won't pay for your choices, that's a line they can defend. But when they name your nature, that's where limits start to bend. Power loves a reason to manage flesh and bone. Today it's someone else, tomorrow it's your own. The state was built to serve us, not tell us who we are. Once it owns the definition, it moves the boundary bar. If government defines me for its own ease of use, then freedom isn't freedom, it's permission they can choose. You don't need to like my life to let my rights remain. When liberty's conditional, the Constitution's just a name. This isn't about approval, it's about restraint. This isn't left or right, it's the power you let paint. A box around a citizen, a label around a soul. Once precedent is written, you don't control the road. defines us for convenience and calm, then liberty is fragile and authority is armed. A republic doesn't survive by choosing who belongs. It survives by limiting power, even when it feels wrong.